Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and I am so glad to be back here doing a Facebook Live little mini training for you. It's been a while. I did several of them in January and February, and now I've had a little break here. We had the launch of my membership, some parent teacher conferences, and I needed a little break from being on the screen a lot. So I am happy to be back and talking about transitions with children with autism. And please let me know where you're watching from. I would love to know where you're watching from, and if you are a parent, if you are a special ed teacher, speech language pathologist, a para, let me know. And I'm just going to give everyone a minute here to get on, and then I will get started. Micah is watching from the Philippines. Hi, Micah. So good to see you. All right, I have some at the end. Once again, I'll have a great freebie for you to get started with all of this. Hey, Heather, yay! And Harley from East Tennessee, Tabitha from Indiana, who is a parent. It looks like there's maybe some spam posts going on. Sorry about that. I don't know where they came from. Anyway, Yvette from Charlottesville. We have people from Florida, and Tristan from Florida, mom, Laura from New Jersey, inclusion teacher. All right, you guys, I'm going to get started so I can make the most of your time. Thank you for being here. I know we're all busy on these weeknights, either right after or right before spring break. I'm in the final stretch. I have 3 more days of work until spring break. Hey, let me know. Have you had your spring break and you're back in the classroom now? Or are you looking forward to an upcoming spring break? All right, either way, I'm hoping that these strategies can help you out. Once again, I'm Tara Tuchel, and I create resources and activities for parents and educators of little ones with autism. And this week I wanted to talk about transitions. If you checked out my blog post from last week, it's all about transitions and ways to make transitions smoother for our young children with autism. And so if you've ever experienced a breakdown during transitions, whether it's at home, at school, or in the community, it's not a pleasant thing to go through. It's awful sometimes. And so I have 7 tips for you tonight that can help you create kind of a routine and some predictability when it comes to transitions. And I have some free visual supports for you to download at the end, and I'll put them in the comments after I'm done. But I wanted to start with saying that transitions are hard, especially for young children who are autistic and tend to get really engaged in what they're doing and tend to have difficulty with change or shifting gears. That's what can make transitions really hard. And so even if they're transitioning to something that you would think would be good or exciting for them, sometimes transitions are still difficult. So as an educator or parent, easier to do for a parent, but an educator or therapist, it's important at first to start by gaining trust and building a relationship. And I kind of have to say that. You can't just walk in and not really know the child or have a rapport with them and expect these strategies to work. So it takes time to build the relationship and introduce some of these and use them consistently. They're usually not going to work magically in one time. But if you use them consistently and you can build that predictability, it's really, really going to help you with those transitions. So a transition is when a child has to move between activities or between locations in the classroom or outside of the classroom. And again, transitions are hard because we have to shift gears. And I always like to think of it like if I am sitting down reading a book and I'm really, really into it, and someone came and grabbed the book right out of my hands, I would be upset. I would be stressed. I would not be happy with that. And I think sometimes our young students with autism have that same feeling. Even if we feel like we may be set them up that the transition was coming. If we're just doing it verbally, so with a typically developing child, you might say 2 more minutes, 2 minutes, and then all done, or 2 minutes and then check schedule. A typically developing child will hear that and kind of understand over time that that means we're going to shift gears. For a child with autism, it's hard to filter out all the stimuli that's coming in. And so there could be issues comprehending the spoken word, and also just kind of filtering out all of the sensory stuff going on in a classroom or out in the community. And so that's where visual supports, that's my huge thing. Visual supports are the thing that can help with that understanding and that predictability. And so transitions and change are difficult for all children, and I would even say all adults. Like, who likes change? Not many people. So when children with autism are really engaged in an activity and they're asked to shift gears to something else, it can trigger meltdowns. And switching those gears is hard because they thrive usually on consistency and routine. So let's make transitions set up in a structured way where we can make it more predictable for them. All right, so the key to this is to plan ahead, be prepared, and be consistent. And so I'm going to introduce the strategies for you. One of them, let me put it up here, the old tried and true first then board. And so this is done, I would say, in kind of a format of a mini schedule. So instead of having a schedule up that's half a day or full day and it's too overwhelming, when we have young kids, let's stick to something that's easier to understand. So first we do this, and then we're doing this. So it might be, you could see in this picture, okay, look, it's time to wake up. And we're pointing to the picture. It's time to wake up, and then we're going to have breakfast. And you're kind of foreshadowing what's coming, letting them know in a visual format, which research has shown is the way to understanding with young children with autism. Visual supports are a research-based strategy for young children with autism. So we have the first then. And so let's say a month ago I got a new student in my classroom, and we knew for him transitions were the hardest thing. And we knew that from the evaluation and observations in his childcare. And when he came in the classroom, we kind of thought, okay, we're not going to overwhelm him with a big long schedule. We're going to do first then. And it's kind of hard for us to switch gears and know we need to put pictures together for every single transition. So that means we are thinking ahead, we are planning ahead. So when I greet him at the bus, I have first hang up, first walk, then hang up backpack. And then it will be, when he does that, I give him a new first then that I have kind of waiting by his coat hook. Okay, first choice time, then purple table. And purple table is when he works with me at a table. And so on that table is a big picture with a purple table, and he matches the picture to the purple table. And then as I'm sitting there working with him and he finishes and he's playing with a toy afterwards, I get the next first then ready. And eventually you'll be able to move into more of a traditional visual schedule. But to start, you really want to do first then, first then, first then, and really show kids what's coming. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be a quick fix and you're still not going to have transition issues, but at least you're giving information and input in a visual format of what's coming next, what the schedule looks like. All right. The next thing, I don't know if anyone is on Instagram, but I did some Instagram reels with talking about using a transition object. So if you're ever over on Instagram, check out Autism Little Learners, and you can watch some of the reels I'm doing, which is kind of like a TikTok. to kind of show or tell you about different little bits of strategies. So this is one of my favorite strategies, is using a transition object. So it could be a toy or other favorite object, and using transition objects can really reduce stress and anxiety, which we know our students are feeling. Like I said, if someone just pulled a book out of my hand when I was reading it and said, okay, it's time to go to the grocery store, I would be stressed. And even if that's not exactly what we're doing in the classroom or at home, we're not taking the toy away and saying, okay, time to go. We think we're prepping them. But a lot of times the verbal is just not quite making sense, or the processing isn't happening with that. And so it feels to them very stressful and like they had the rug pulled out from under them. So a transition object, like I said, can be a toy, a favorite object. With the little boy I was mentioning earlier that's new in my classroom, he loves Matchbox cars. And so every transition, we let him pick a Matchbox car. And he just holds it in his hand and carries it with him. So it could be a Matchbox car. It could be a stuffed animal. And for me, I'm like, I don't care if they carry something around, especially if it's smaller and you can kind of fit it in one hand. And, I did have a student once bring an entire, beanbag chair to school. And her parents said we couldn't get her to let go of it. And, it was our way of getting her to school. Like, that was her transition object. And, of course, we had to figure out a way to swap that out for a smaller transition object once she was in the classroom and in a calm state and stuff. And we did, but we have to laugh about that. And I think the parents said, we don't even want it back if she wants to carry it around all the time. But anyway, a transition object can also be, if you talk to your OT, it could be just a little fidget toy of some type. I said in the reels, if they want to carry a spoon, fine, carry a spoon. But a lot of times this transition object can ease. So if I said, okay, first purple table, then group time, and we're done at the purple table, I can take off the purple table, all done purple table, group time, here, want to carry this? Or just hold it out. You don't even have to have the verbal. And that helps with the transition. Sometimes kids will want to hold the same object for every transition throughout the day. And other kids, you need to maybe pick something new to kind of motivate them. And so this little guy that's new in my classroom, sometimes he will, in the middle of a transition, stop and start crying or kind of yelling and just refusing to move. So he's not being aggressive. He's not hurting himself or anyone else. I'm not going to go physically make him move. I mean, that is not best practice, and it is not going to help his stress and anxiety. What I will do is let him stand there, and I'm going to go find the coolest Matchbox car, and I'm just going to hold it up. And for him, that has worked so many times already, where it redirects him. So some people might say, well, is that reinforcing the behavior? Well, I'm not giving it to him because he's stopping. I'm giving it to him to help redirect him and get that moving along, moving his body to where we want him to be. And to do that with less stress and to just kind of entice him with a favorite little object, I think works really well. And we don't want to be physically moving kids, right? So a transition object really shifts their attention from the activity they're doing and helps move them along and keep them moving to the next activity. I love transition objects. All right, so this one kind of goes with the transition object. So let's say my little guy, I gave him a Matchbox car, and he is carrying it, and he comes to my table to work, and he gets there, and I can't get him to work on any of the activities I had planned. I mean, sometimes we just need to scrap the activities and go with something else. However, if you know it's the object that's getting in the way of his attention, this weight mat, I forgot I have them here. So this weight mat, you can just take the object and put it on there and just leave it at the table. And it's going to be tempting and it's going to be hard. So that's why I say teaching these strategies is going to take time. And so I had a student where, I'll talk to you in a minute about the all done bucket, but I didn't need the all done bucket because he didn't have to be done holding the Matchbox car. He just needed to wait because we were doing an activity where he needed his hands, right? What if you're doing a fine motor activity or using manipulatives and you want him to use their hands? And if they're holding a bunch of stuff, it's hard to use hands. And it happens a lot in my classroom. And so we will just put the weight mat down and then I'll help them put the object on. And they know I'm not taking it away. After we've done it enough times, they know we are not taking it away. I'll say, oh, look, Olaf wants to sit and watch you. And so you can do things to kind of play around with it, make it fun, and they will learn to trust you that this weight mat means I'm going to put it there. It's going to watch me do my work, and then I'm going to get it back. And just knowing that and building in that routine, it typically doesn't take too long for them to understand because you're using structure, visuals, and consistency, and that builds that predictability for kids. So the weight mat is perfect when you have kids. I have so many students that like to hold stuff all the time. And I don't know, are you the same? Does anyone else have students that like to hold stuff all the time, whether it's a transition object or not? Okay, the next one is just the use of a timer. And I typically, with probably 99% of my students, use the kitchen timer. If you have a student that is really has sensory challenges and they're really sensory defensive to auditory, then you maybe want to pick a time timer that has like the red that goes away or color that goes away as time goes by. But I feel like with my little ones with autism, it's really hard for them to focus on their activity and pay attention to the color on the time timer. And so for me, the kitchen timer works because that beep, again, it's that consistency and predictability. And so when it beeps, they know, oh, it's time to transition. It's another cue. So you're within, if I'm working at Purple Table with my student, he may be using the transition object to get there. We put it on the weight mat. I show him first Purple Table work, then group time. And then I set the time, or I do the work, and after the work, he gets to play with something. So I have reward or play buckets at the tables. And so we'll do our work, and then he can have 3-4 minutes, whatever, to play with an object or a toy that he picked. So it might be Matchbox cars or a fun little game. And I have a choice board where he can pick from the different things. And after he is done working, and okay, look, you get the toy, and then I'll set the timer for whatever time we have available, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes, then all done. And usually the combination of all those things, once they start to all work in tandem, are so helpful. So kitchen timer, these little cheap ones, they work the best for me. All right, and you heard me mention the all done bucket. So the all done bucket is simply just something like this, printed out, and you can attach it to any kind of bucket, like a shoebox or anything you have lying around. And the all done bucket is kind of magical. Like usually after just a few times of using it consistently, it starts to work. So I had students previously that, okay, let's say they worked at Purple Table and they're playing with the Matchbox cars, and the timer beeps, and it's time to be all done with the Matchbox cars, right? Okay, time to be all done, and you put out the bucket, and at first you'll help them, just like you were helping them clean up. Help them put the things in the bucket, and then you move the bucket. And at first, they aren't going to know maybe what's happening or what you're doing. But over time, when you're consistent with this, I literally now with several students will hold out the all done bucket, and even if it's like their favorite toy that they love to play with and it's hard for them to give up, you hold out the bucket and they have built that routine in, and they just put it in. Like no fight or whining or crying, So the all done bucket is super magical once it's taught and once it's used consistently. All right, next one is the star chart. I love the star chart. All right, I'm gonna get my little star chart here. It's the same one I have in the picture. All right, I'm trying to figure out how to show it and stay in the screen. It's not working too well. Okay, so the star chart is used to count down time. So this is different than a star chart that you might be used to, where they say, oh, I'm working for, and they earn a star for good behavior or whatever. It is not that. This star chart is what they call duration mapping, and it's simply counting down time. So the biggest times that I use these, a star chart, would be every time we go outside on the playground for recess, every time we go to the gym, and all of our staff are doing it. So the special education teacher, the paras that we're with, we just choose a couple people out on the playground, a couple staff members who will be in charge of the star chart that day. And their job, besides supervising, is to go around and make sure all the students see the countdown of time. And so this says Legos, but let's say we're on the playground and let's say this is a check mark, which is what we use to say check your schedule. And so all of our students are really familiar with the check mark and what that means. So we're going to pretend that this is a check mark. Here, let me I don't want anyone to be confused with this. Okay, so I'm going to put a check on there with my little Post-it. All right, so what this will look like in the gym or outside is I'll be walking around and I'll say, oh, Aiden, look, 1 star, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 more, then check schedule. And then I let them play, and I go to another student, do the same thing. Okay, 2 stars. And so we do that. Let's say we're out there for 20 minutes. So I can kind of spread this out. That way, you don't have to go by just by a timer, which 20 minutes goes by, the timer goes off at the end, and everyone's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. With this, they're getting that countdown in a visual format the whole time, right? And so I'm using this, I think I forgot to say at the beginning, I work with 2.5 to 5-year-olds who have autism. But really, these would be helpful for any kids, whether they're typically developing or they have special needs. But with this, then, we keep walking around and showing them, and so they kind of start to, once you've used it enough, they start to know, like, okay, the recess is ending pretty soon. Like, their internal time clock, they start to know. And your student has figured out what this is when you're on the playground and you walk toward them and you're the person with the stars and they run away because they don't want to know that recess is coming to an end. So we'll use this to count down time, and I could see this being used by parents in the community if you're at the playground or at some other fun place. And the really nice thing about this that can't really be explained in pictures, and that's part of why I wanted to do a Facebook Live, the awesome thing about this is you can make it go as fast or as slow as you want. So a lot of our students can be rule followers. And so let's say we're out on the playground and I just had a timer and the timer beeped and it was time to go in. But we had to wait for somebody, or a parent was there and was talking to me and it delayed us going in. Well, with a timer, you can't really fix that. But with the star chart, I can wait until I am completely ready to put the last star on. All right? So that is where it can be really helpful. Also, if you are with your child at the playground and you can tell, okay, they're getting tired, they're getting stressed, we want to end this on a good note, you can quick put the rest of the stars on and kind of get out of there on a good positive note instead of waiting till the timer goes off or something like that. So the star chart can be really, really helpful in a lot of different situations. All right, I forgot to show too, I have, let me get this off the screen. I have an example of kind of what a visual schedule would look like at my level with my students. And so we'll usually have it where we can fit maybe 4 or 5 pictures on, and we just have this Velcroed to a wall or the back of a shelf of some type, somewhere where it's predictable, where they always know where to go to get to their schedule. And I usually have a picture of the student on here too. And so we'll say check schedule. They'll come and put their check right on the Velcro on the schedule, and then they'll take the next thing off. So when kids are really good with the first then we can kind of move on to a longer sequence of activities, and then we pull in the first then if they need it broken down into a smaller sequence again, if they're having a difficult time with something. So visual schedule is wonderful. And all of these visual supports are found, after I'm off of here, I will put the direct link where you can download this free PDF that gives you all of these things. So whether you're at home or in a school or therapy setting, you'll get all of these free visual supports to get you started. If you start using them and you have some success stories, I would love to hear from you. So message me and let me know and take pictures. And I also wanted to let you know that Thursday and Friday of this week, I'm going to have a 20% off sale in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. So everything in there will be 20% off. So head over that way if you are interested or you have something in your cart, start putting it in. I always like to plan ahead a couple days when there's a sale coming so that I can get stuff in my cart. And I also wanted to share, for those of you that either haven't heard about my Autism Little Learners membership, or you missed the deadline last month, I have an exciting announcement. And I can't announce the whole thing until Monday when all the details are worked out, but it's something super exciting about the membership, where if you're kicking yourself for not getting in, it's something you're going to want to watch for. So I will go back when I am off here, because it's really hard to see all the comments while I'm live. But after I get off, I will go back and look, and if any of you have questions, I'll hop on there and answer them tonight, okay? Just feel free to message me if you have any questions about these visual supports, and watch for the link to these freebies in the comments. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and have a great rest of the week.